Hey there, welcome back to my kitchen. Today we are going to be making some more Knorr recipes. I am not sponsored in any way by Knorr. I just like Knorr packets. I grew up eating them and I like to keep them on hand for nights where I just don't really have a whole lot left in the cabinets and I need to make dinner. I usually just get creative with it. So I'm going to show you 3 of those meals today. I hope you enjoy, but let's just go ahead and get started. To get started today, we're going to make a loaded mac and cheese. The first thing I'm doing is just preheating my oven to 350 degrees. In my freezer, I actually had some bacon, so I went ahead, thawed that out, and added half of that bacon into my big pot. I'm just using my scissors to cut that up into smaller pieces, but if you prefer to cook this in strips and then chop it up, you can do that as well. Once the bacon was all done, I did just go ahead and remove that over to a paper towel to sit until I am ready for it. And then into the same pot with the grease, I am adding 1 chicken breast. I did go ahead and cut this chicken breast up into smaller bite-sized pieces, and cooking it in this bacon grease will add a lot of flavor. Now just adding in some seasonings. I'm not adding a lot just because this is only 1 chicken breast. I'm sprinkling in just a little bit of paprika, salt, pepper, and garlic powder. Once the chicken was fully cooked, again, I'm just going to move this over to a paper towel to kind of get some of the grease off of there, and then I am going to empty out the pan. So for this recipe, we are just using 2 of the cheesy cheddar Knorr packets, and then on the back of the directions, we're not going to follow that exactly. The bag will tell you to add 1.5 cups of water and 1/2 cup of milk, but I like to change that up a little bit and do 1 cup of milk and 1 cup of water. It just helps get it a little bit more creamy and I think add more flavor, honestly. So altogether, I am adding in 2 cups of milk and 2 cups of water. Once the pasta is just about done, as you can see, it has absorbed most of that liquid at this point. I'm going to add in a handful of shredded cheddar cheese. I added probably close to 1 cup of cheese in here. I want this to be super cheesy. It's macaroni and cheese, but you can add more or less if you'd like. Once that cheese is melted, I'm adding in my chicken and half of that bacon. Give that a really good mix together, and then we're going to transfer it over into a baking dish. For this, I'm just using my 8x8 pan. It's not very big. It's the perfect size for this, honestly. I did spray it down with a little bit of nonstick spray just to be safe, and now I'm adding in my macaroni and cheese. And yes, we are topping it with some more cheese, but I think the best mac and cheese is super cheesy, so of course we have to add more cheese. Just add about 1/2 cup to another cup, your preference. And then once that is all covered, add it into the oven for about 10 minutes. Everything's already cooked through, you're just making sure that it's nice and hot and the cheese is all melted. And then to finish this off, we're just going to add the remaining bacon over the top, and I also sliced up 1 green onion and added that on the top. Here's what my finished plate looked like. This was so good. It was perfect. In my freezer, I also had some broccoli florets, so I went ahead and steamed those up as well. And this is what my pantry meal looked like for this evening. It came together so well, and this was such a comfort meal. Next, we're going to be making this Cajun shrimp pasta. To begin for this one, I am using 2 packages of this 4 cheese pasta. With this one as well, I'm going to not exactly follow the directions. The directions again say 1.5 cups of water and 1/2 cup of milk per bag. So instead I'm using 1 cup of water and 1 cup of milk per bag. Once that is boiling, I'm going to go ahead and add both of those packages in there. And once the pasta is about 3/4 of the way done, I'm going to add in 1 can of petite diced tomatoes. These are just regular tomatoes and tomato juice, no seasonings or anything like that. Once that's mixed together and the pasta is all the way done at this point, I am now going to add in 1/2 cup of Parmesan cheese, about 1 teaspoon of Cajun seasoning, and 1/2 teaspoon of oregano. With the Cajun seasoning, you can add more or less if you want to. I do want to mention though, if you are using a store-bought Cajun seasoning, just be careful adding that in because it's probably going to be very salty. If you have a homemade Cajun seasoning, it's not going to be as salty, so you can add more if you want more heat. As you can see, I added just a little bit more here because I wanted there to be more of that Cajun flavor and a little bit more spice in here. But everybody's different, so add what you like and just remember what I said about the saltiness. Next, I'm adding in some shrimp. I had about 6 ounces of medium shrimp in my freezer, so I thawed those out and added those in here as well. They are pre-cooked, deveined, and tail removed. Here is what my finished plate looked like. This came together really nicely as well. It really did hit the spot with that spice. It was so good. I just topped it with a little bit more of that Parmesan cheese, and then to the side I had some of my 3 ingredient breadsticks in the freezer. I'll link that recipe down below for you if you're interested in that one. We just went ahead and thawed those out and had those with dinner as well. I think this one is my favorite out of all 3 of these recipes. We're gonna make this creamy chicken pasta. To begin with this one, I'm just taking a paper towel and kind of drying off my chicken breast. This is 1 chicken breast that I just went ahead and sliced in half. To season this chicken breast, I'm sprinkling it lightly with some salt, Italian seasoning, and pepper. I am also taking a little bit of flour and I'm going to cover this chicken breast in the flour as well. Adding this flour on here is going to add a little bit of texture to this chicken, but also help it from sticking super badly to our pan. So once you get that first side done, go ahead and flip those over and repeat everything we just did. Once you're done with the chicken, over to the stove top, we're going to add a tablespoon of butter and a tablespoon of olive oil into our pan. I let that get nice and hot and then added the chicken in. This chicken will cook for about 3 to 4 minutes per side until it is all the way cooked through. As you can see, because we added on that flour, it's getting that really nice texture over it and a nice golden color, which is exactly what we want for this recipe. So once the chicken is fully cooked, I'm just going to remove that over to my cutting board for right now and just kind of let that rest while we get started on the pasta. Into the same pan with all the juices and the butter and oil in there, I am going to cook 2 packages of this creamy garlic pasta. For this one, it actually does say on the back to add 1 cup of water and 1 cup of milk, so that's what we're doing. I'm adding 2 cups of water and 2 cups of milk since I'm using 2 packages. Once we have that in there, I'm gonna go ahead and scrape the bottom to make sure I pick up all that great flavor from the chicken. Over to my cutting board, I did go ahead and chop up my chicken at this point while I was waiting on the water to boil. I'm cutting it into smaller bite-sized pieces, that way it spreads more throughout the dish. Once this is boiling, you can go ahead and add in your pasta and let this cook to about 3/4 of the way done. And now we're gonna add in several seasonings actually. You will need 1/4 teaspoon of oregano, a 1/4 teaspoon of onion powder, a 1/4 teaspoon of basil, a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder, a 1/4 teaspoon of mustard powder, and 1/8 of a teaspoon of paprika. Once all those are in there, go ahead and get that all combined together and let it finish cooking. Once the pasta was done, I did go ahead and add in about a 1/2 cup of shredded Parmesan cheese. I gave that a mix together and let that melt through. Now I'm adding in my chopped up chicken. And again, I'm going to give this a mix together to get that combined. And there's one last ingredient that I would say is definitely optional. I'm adding in about a 1/2 teaspoon to a teaspoon of lemon juice. I really love adding lemon juice into pasta, but I try not to overdo it because my husband is not the biggest fan of it, but I think it adds really great flavor. Here's what my plate looked like on this night. I had some Brussels sprouts in the freezer. I went ahead and steamed those up, and that's what I had with this meal. This turned out so good. My husband actually asked me if I could make it again sometime. So you know, if he's asking for it again, it was really good. Thank you guys so much for being here today and watching this all the way through. If you did, don't forget to leave me a flower down in the comments below. I will have another video up on Sunday, so I will see you then. But until then, I hope you have a great rest of your week, and I do hope to see you back here on Sunday. Bye guys!